Well, we didn't have enough time to talk about this yesterday, but I'm glad that we're covering it. Carrie-Anne Moss recently did an interview where she talked about the hiatus she took from acting in order to focus on motherhood and raising her kids. And this was after The Matrix blew up and was a huge opportunity for her, and she was being offered huge roles in Hollywood left and right. And she decided to turn down major roles in favor of spending time with her family. This is in an interview with The Independent. She said, "I'm so glad that I did that," meaning she gave up her Hollywood career after The Matrix. "After The Matrix was such a big deal, I took a big break to have children and be with them. I remember being torn, having a little twinge like, gosh, I'm getting offered such great things. That would be such a huge deal. And I was holding my baby in my arms. And I remember thinking, at the end of my life, will it matter to me that I have another movie on my resume? Or will it matter to me that I held my baby?" And I instantly thought, no, it was just a no-brainer. And I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I don't have that regret. For my career, maybe not so much, but that was the greatest decision I ever made in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a lot of people responding to this, thinking maybe there is still hope for society.
Well, I mean, this was 20 years ago, so that
It was a long time
this would
ago.
be more impressive if it was a younger actress that was saying this, but it wasn't. It
For
was.
context, she has 3 children, 2 sons born in 2003 and 2005, and a daughter born in 2009 with her husband, who is a much smaller actor than her.
Isn't this a common opinion by people that do step away from the limelight, and they're like, this was the best decision I could have possibly made? Rick Moranis did that. Like, I think his wife...
His was out of necessity. His wife died.
Yeah, his wife died, but like, even still, like, you know, he stepped away from what was a very lucrative career, and you know, he clearly doesn't regret it from all the stuff that I've heard. You know, he didn't come back to acting, if I understand correctly.
They were going to bring him back for Ghostbusters, and then he got punched in the face in New York City, and he was never seen again.
It was January that Aubrey Plaza's husband committed suicide, and then you see her 2 months later hosting at the Golden Globes. I just find that really anti-human.
Did you see the thing I sent you? It was like Aubrey Plaza was found to be separated from her husband for 4 months. Coroner's report indicates, and they're like, "What the hell test did they run to know that?"
What?
But it's like a question that's that's filled out.
Oh,
on
so
the
they
form.
had separated, but they weren't
Divorced.
notifying the public about it.
Yeah, they were. Like, it was just funny because they're like, the coroner's report indicated. They're like, "What test did they run on the body to know that they were separated?" I have no idea what. It's like your Aubrey Plaza levels are dangerously low. How do you do that?
So similarly, Carrie-Anne Moss also decided to leave Hollywood in recent years. Her and her family left Los Angeles to pursue a quieter life in New Hampshire. After her 30-year career in Hollywood, they went to New Hampshire. Her and her husband, Stephen Roy, back in 2020, seeking more connection to nature and a simpler lifestyle.
Very, very base decision.
I wonder what that means to her. What does that mean to connect with nature? I mean, like, you don't have to go to one of those lame parks in California where you have to run into a bunch of crunchy hippies that are all, like, you know, trust fund kids.
She mentioned the importance of seeing the stars at night and being surrounded by trees.
Yeah.
Well, there are places in California that are like that, but not where you're going to be getting work in Hollywood. Yeah, obviously. So yeah, she's a New Hampshire
I think it's illegal to look at the stars in California.
Oh.
I read recently that, or I was watching an interview that most auditions now in Hollywood are all recorded and sent in.
Ever since COVID,
like
right?
since COVID, like very few of them are done.
That must take away so much.
There's a lot of discussions about actors who talk about how, like, they actually lose out because their ability to kind of read a room and read what the director might want is actually a skill set that they have that's easier to do if you're there in person, as opposed to just sending in a recorded version of it. Like, they'll be like, okay, they ask you to do this scene, you do it, and you're like, what would you use there? Do you want something different? Do you want it to be done this way? And you can be more collaborative, whereas if you're just sending in a tape, all they're doing is getting a prefab version of yourself that makes it a lot harder.
Yeah.
So But all I'm saying is, like, that might be a reason why a lot of the more well-known celebrities are just moving out. Like, look, if all I have to do is send in audition tapes, I don't have to fly in. And even them, like, she's at the tax bracket. I'm sure that doesn't really matter, right?
A lot of people are going to see a story like this, and they're going to think, well, that's nice for her, but most people are never going to have such a luxury. And to a degree, like, yes, totally. I mean, I'm sure that she's mega rich off of The Matrix and the roles that she had before she took her hiatus, but it doesn't mean that it's entirely not achievable for ordinary people. And I did the math. So she was 31 when the first Matrix movie came out, right?
Yeah. And even that, by Hollywood standards, is on the old side at that time, when you would have been in your early 20s to do that role.
And then the third came out in what year?
2007? Am I wrong about that?
Really?
When did the third? Was it 2004? Something like that.
I bet that it was 2004. But she's saying she had her first son in 2003, her second son in 2005. So maybe she took a step back directly after the third part came out?
2003 and 2003, yeah. So they Reloaded and Revolutions were both 2003.
Okay, yeah. So she must have gotten pregnant like directly after filming the third movie in the trilogy, and then took a step back from her career following that. And by that point, she's like about mid-30s, and then she goes on to have 3 kids total with her husband. I like that she just did that without a conceit about I don't know, fitting into a certain mold. Like when people say you can have it all, it actually looks like that. It means you can have both things at different times.
Yes.
And she prioritized her career until she was about 35.
I mean, yeah, she didn't even necessarily do it early. She was in her mid-30s by the time she got there.
Yeah, I think people lose sight of that type of nuance.
Yeah.
And they also want to spread these like doomer messages like you could never do this, only she can do this because she's rich.
Well, and for these cases, it's perspective is important. There's only so many movie franchises that elevate an actress to that stature where this is plausible. There's plenty of television actresses who, you know, they get really successful and they have to either be written out for a portion of a season. I mean, Gillian Anderson was like always pregnant on the set of the X-Files. Like that frumpy coat did half the work for her in the early seasons of the X-Files. She got pregnant, I think, right away in season 1 or something like that. And she was only 23 at that time, something like that. So, you know, weirdly enough, it seems like if you're a big enough star, they're willing to work with you.
Well, Megan Fox famously said that pregnancy is equivalent to leprosy in Hollywood. And that's the consequence that she faced in her career after she started her family.
I wonder if that's connected to, like, I mean, she wasn't doing TV at that time. Has Megan Fox ever done TV? Like, it's different if you're on a show 9 months out of the year, like on network TV, and then they have to worry about writing around you, and then suddenly there's bookcases in front of you and stacks of folders in front of you to hide your pregnancy. Right?
I think that she had her first in, what was that, 2008, 2007?
So like right after the first Transformers movie? Megan Fox? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
But it was like refreshingly honest that she was willing to admit that they, like in Hollywood, that's just not a value they have.
And it's because structurally it's not pragmatic for the business model. Like, and I'll give them credit. Like whenever one of these, whenever I'd watch DVD commentaries on these shows where the star or one of the main stars did get pregnant, they never like overly patted themselves on the back. Like, look at the thing we did. Like, look how great we are for letting her keep working.
Oh.
They would more talk about the logistic challenges of like what it was like. Okay, so now her face is twice normal size. Poppy Montgomery was like that too. Her face got really, really fat and just you didn't know how to explain it. So this would happen with television actresses regularly. And Hollywood did a lot better job getting women in front of the screen and leading roles on TV long before movies on a more consistent basis. Not that women didn't lead movies before that, but there was a hell of a lot more girl bosses on TV than there were in movies for a longer period of time.
Do you think they anticipated the success of The Matrix before it came out?
No, I don't think so.
I feel like it's sort of like what happened with Twilight, because they literally thought it was just going to be a flash in the pan indie movie and had no idea.
And then they shot the second two back to back. I think they expected the second two to be more successful than they ended up being.
Pretty rough.
And like, let's just not even talk about the rest of it.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.